On the morning of September 11th, 2001, America woke up like any other day. But by the end of that day, the world had changed forever. It all began at 8:46 a.m. when American Airlines Flight 11 slammed into the North Tower of the World Trade Center in New York City. People initially thought it was a tragic accident, but that theory quickly dissolved at 9:03 a.m. when United Airlines Flight 175 crashed into the South Tower. It was now clear America was under attack. These attacks were part of a coordinated terrorist plot carried out by the extremist group Al-Qaeda, led by Osama bin Laden. They hijacked 4 planes that day with devastating plans. 2 of the planes targeted the Twin Towers in New York, which symbolized America's economic power. The 3rd plane, American Airlines Flight 77, crashed into the Pentagon in Arlington, Virginia, striking at the heart of the U.S. military. The 4th plane, United Airlines Flight 93, never reached its intended target, which was believed to be either the White House or the U.S. Capitol. Thanks to the heroic passengers on board who fought back against the hijackers, the plane crashed into a field in Pennsylvania instead. Sadly, all lives on board were lost, but their bravery likely saved countless others. By 10:28 a.m., both towers of the World Trade Center had collapsed, filling the streets of New York with debris and a thick cloud of dust. The destruction was total, and the loss of life staggering. In total, nearly 3,000 people died that day. Innocent civilians, firefighters, police officers, and first responders who rushed in to save others. The aftermath. The attacks of 9/11 were a national tragedy, but they also brought out incredible stories of heroism, unity, and resilience. For a brief moment, Americans came together, united in grief and determination. In the days following the attacks, President George W. Bush addressed the nation, declaring a war on terror and promising to hunt down those responsible. Within weeks, the U.S. military launched an invasion of Afghanistan, where the Taliban regime had been harboring Al-Qaeda operatives. This marked the beginning of America's longest war, which would last for nearly 2 decades. The impact of 9/11 didn't stop at foreign policy. Domestically, the attacks led to sweeping changes in security measures. Air travel became much stricter with the creation of the Transportation Security Administration, TSA. The U.S. also established the Department of Homeland Security, DHS, to better coordinate efforts against future threats. The Patriot Act was passed, expanding the government's ability to monitor and investigate potential terrorism suspects. But perhaps the most significant change was psychological. For many Americans, 9/11 shattered the sense of security that had once seemed unbreakable. It was a reminder that even the most powerful nation on earth was not invincible. Muslim Americans also felt anxiety over hostility toward them. The legacy of 9/11. Now, more than 2 decades later, the effects of 9/11 are still felt in many ways. The rebuilt World Trade Center, featuring the One World Trade Center Tower, stands as a symbol of resilience. Memorials across the country honor the victims, including the National September 11 Memorial and Museum in New York, which is a somber reminder of the lives lost and the bravery displayed that day. Politically, the war on terror led to significant consequences, including the invasion of Iraq in 2003 and a complicated legacy of military engagement in the Middle East. The killing of Osama bin Laden in 2011 by U.S. Navy SEALs brought some closure, but the global fight against terrorism continues in different forms. For younger generations, 9/11 is a history lesson, but for those who lived through it, the memories of that day remain vivid. The shock, the horror, and ultimately the sense of unity that followed. It's a story of tragedy, resilience, and a nation determined to move forward, forever changed but never defeated. In final, a tribute and a huge heartfelt thank you to all of the heroic first responders, alive and past, that put their country and her people before their own safety that day. You are heroes, and your country loves you. Thanks for stopping by Nutshelled H Story. I will see y'all next time on Nutshelled History.